Hey Nomads, thank you so much and welcome back here for part 2. I hope you saw part 1 of this video of my top 10 favorite albums, but as you can see, I couldn't pick just 10, I had to pick 21. So we're playing a little blackjack here. So this is part 2. If you want to check out the full kind of review of all of these other number 21 through 11, that's in part 1 of this ranking stuff video. This is a new series for me, so I'm still kind of refining it and smoothing out some rough edges and things. So I appreciate your patience and feel free to shoot me a comment on how I might make these videos better. If you have an awesome idea, I would find that really helpful. So yeah, let's go ahead and roll my theme song and then I'll introduce the top 10 favorite albums.
A band with just one dude, no reason to fret. I'll play with myself, it's Nate's one-man duet.
All right, now that you've all been treated to that awesome theme song, let's real quick recap songs, or albums rather, number 21 through 11. So I'm just going to kind of roll through these because there's a big, whole, long video that goes through all of them. So we ended with number 11, Coldplay's debut album, Parachute. So let's see what makes the top 10 at number 10. Let's take a look. It's Green Day's album from the year 2000, Warning. Now this one kind of surprised me. I like a lot of Green Day albums. I would have thought American Idiot or Dookie would have been here, but it was Warning. Totally surprised me. It was not an album that was even on my radar that would show up in my top 25, let alone my top 10. But with albums like Warning, I think perhaps my wife's favorite Green Day song, Church on Sunday, which I really love to cover, as well as Misery. Misery is like a super deep cut album or song from Green Day, but it is one of my favorite. And the little surf guitar lead that they put in that is totally brilliant, and I love it. Also songs like Minority, that was between Minority and Warning, those were probably like the big commercial hits from this album. And then another one of my personal favorites is Macy Day Parade. I love covering that song. It's really fun, really great. So yeah, that's number 10, Warning by Green Day. So let's roll in and see what's number 9. Better Than Ezra, Closer. I love Better Than Ezra. There's a couple albums of theirs and a couple songs of theirs that really just speak to me. I think they're amazing. So this is another album that maybe, I don't know that any of these were like big commercial hits. It wasn't until much later, this album came out in 2001. It wasn't until much later that I kind of got into them. So some of my personal highlights, Extraordinary, that is a really cool song. In fact, I'll say that that's probably the commercial success song that got me into them. And funny enough, the whole reason that I kind of got into this band, I knew of their hit Good and a couple of their older things, but they mentioned Bare Naked Ladies in this song. I can't remember the exact lyrics. Something about wasabi, just like that Bare Naked Ladies song. Just like that Bare Naked Ladies song, hot like wasabi when I'm next to your body, all I wanna do. Extraordinary is a really cool song, but it mentioned Bare Naked Ladies at a time that I was a huge fan of theirs, and therefore I became a Better Than Ezra fan, as you do when you're young and stupid. Closer is a really beautiful song. The first time I got my vocal harmonizer, I received it for a Christmas gift. Thanks, Tom and Chris, that was awesome. I came home and that was the first song that I played on the vocal harmonizer. I love that song. Recognize is really cool. It's got like, these guys I'm pretty sure are from New Orleans, and Recognize has this like Southern blues kind of vibe. I really love that song. Sincerely Me is a brilliant song. Really cool songwriting. I highly recommend that you go and listen to that one. And then Get You In is another really great song that's... This album is very diverse. It's got a lot of different styles, and they're really kind of, stretching their wings and showing what they can do as a band. So, great album. At number 9, Better Than Ezra, Closer from 2001. So let's check out what number 8 is. Number 8, we've got Weezer Green album from 2001. I love that Weezer had a number of albums that don't actually have a title, so we just refer to them by the color. So this is Green. Blue is a notable one. Red is also a great album. So anyways, from Green, Don't Let Go is, I cover a bunch of songs from this album because I think it's really, really good. Obviously, it's my number 8 favorite album of all time. I often, and this might be controversial, I'll be interested to see what you guys think. I think of Weezer, especially from this era of songwriting. I thought of them as the alternative rock version of the Beatles. Their songs have this kind of pop sensibility. They're infinitely singable. They're catchy. They're fun. And the songs are complicated in a simple way. I know that makes no sense, but like they're doing some really neat things musically, but it sounds simple. And for some reason, that's just always reminded me of the brilliance of the Beatles. So what do you think? Is that a hot take? Is that way out of left field? I don't know. Don't Let Go, great song. Photograph, it's in the photograph. Now, Hash Pipe and Island in the Sun, those are kind of the big commercial hits, the ones that you probably know. And then Simple Pages, those I think are some really fantastic songs from this really fantastic album. All right, so let's check out what's number 7. Ooh, all right, number 7, Maroon 5. Now, I think it's come out at this point, but I did a listen and react to a song, Not Coming Home, which is a live song. I did a listen and react, and in that video, I talk about my opinion of Maroon 5 and this album. Clearly, this album is one of my favorite albums. It's, in fact, number 7. And after one more album, I actually really stopped liking this band. And it kind of bums me out. It especially bums me out because of how brilliant this album is. I love it. I love every song on it. I think they're all catchy and just so memorable. You know, they're awesome songs. So Harder to Breathe, that was, I think... no, This Love was their big hit. But then, like, I remember the first time I listened through the album, I was like, oh my gosh, Harder to Breathe is amazing. This Love I obviously liked. She Will Be Loved became really popular later. And Sweetest Goodbye. There's just so much awesome music on this album. I highly recommend it. Even if you think that you're familiar with Maroon 5, I recommend you go back and re-listen to this album. It's brilliant. All right, let's take a look at what's number 6. Number 6, rolling in with the White Stripes, Elephant from 2003. This is another one that surprised me. I don't think I would have thought that this album would be in my top 25, let alone my top 10, almost my top 5. It was number 6. Now, I know I've heard a lot of people kind of crap on Meg White for her playing. I think it's awesome. I think it was the perfect complement to what Jack Black was doing at this phase in his career. I think it's a wonderful marriage. Okay. Ha ha ha. They're not married. That was kind of the big rumor or debate. You know, what exactly is the relationship between these two? So... whatever the case, so Seven Nation Army, that's like, I mean, it's sung in every stadium across the globe, it seems like, you know, so instantly recognizable with that riff that is just beyond iconic. In the Cold, Cold Night, I like is like a little more of like a chill, almost even like a folk song, if you will. Ball and Biscuit is just you know, it's so interesting. I think of that song and it does a lot of like, not improvisational, but it's it's kind of a jam. It feels like two musicians just kind of jamming. And in fact, I think a lot of songs on this album feel that way, and I love that vibe. The Hardest Button to Button was, again, a little bit of a commercial success, so you might know that one. And then It's True That We Love One Another. I love Jack White like a little brother. That's just a fun song. I think it's really cool. So, yeah, that's number 6. I really dig this album. And surprised me, even though I do stand by it. Once I started re-listening and thinking of these songs, I was like, yeah, this album rocks. So let's check out. We're rolling now into the top 5. So let's see what's in position number 5. No Disassemble, number 5. Okay, number 5, Black Holes and Revelations by Muse. Now, I was not surprised that Muse made this list. I was surprised that it wasn't other albums in other positions. But yeah, this is a great one. And apparently, I forgot to go through and say which songs are great from this album, because they're all great. That's my excuse. But you and I both know that I just forgot, so forgive me. But yeah, this album is awesome. I've had the privilege of seeing Muse a number of times for different albums on different tours. Some of them were smaller. Had I not seen other shows of theirs, I wouldn't have said that, because they're amazing. But some of their like arena tours have been like technologically insane. These guys just flat out rock. They're one of my favorite bands. In fact, when I do a ranking my favorite bands, I imagine they're certainly on the Mount Rushmore. They're top 3. They're probably top 2, just off the top of my head. I'm saying top a lot. Stop saying top, Nate. Anyway, Muse coming in at number 5. So let's check out what hit up number 4. Number 4, the Blue Album. Hey, weren't we just talking about these guys? Yes, we were. Not surprising, the Blue Album. It's iconic. It is from 1994. It just celebrated last year its 30th birthday. That's crazy. There's some really great videos of them performing this album, on different podcasts and shows, and they're still amazing. It's so cool to hear these songs so many years later. They're great. I cover a whole bunch of these. My Name is Jonas. Say It Ain't So are some of my favorite ones to do in my 90s cover band. I personally cover No One Else and Undone the Sweater Song. I know that one's kind of a hard one to cover because it's strange. Like the verse is just kind of people talking like at a party or something. It sounds weird, but it works. Go check that out if you don't know what I'm talking about. There's also a really cool version of that song. I got it from Napster. Don't tell anyone. So it's as so many songs of that on that program, that app before they were called apps it was mislabeled. So I don't know who it actually is who is talking during the verses. They're doing like beat poetry, but I strongly suspect that it's Andy Dick. So you internet sleuths out there, if you know what I'm talking about and you know who that is, hit me up in the comments and let me know. Again, Andy Dick is my strong suspicion, but see if you can find that version of it. It almost sounds like it's recorded at like a coffee house or something. It's crazy, but it is awesome. So Buddy Holly, obviously, probably the smash hit from this album, but they're all so good. And this was their debut album, which is crazy. To have this level of brilliance at your debut, unbelievable. So let's check out what's number 3. All right. Number 3. Now, this one was a huge shock to me. And I debated whether or not to put it on here because technically it's an EP. It's only 6 songs. And so I was going to leave it off because I kind of think of an album as 10 or more songs. But I loved them so much that I was like, it didn't feel right not to not to put it there. And again, you may have seen in part 1 of this video, this isn't off of like recollection and thinking about albums. It's based on the ratings of the individual songs from albums from my iTunes library. So I'm pretty sure all 6 of these songs I have rated 5 stars, and that's why it's here. Again, I was super surprised. As far as I know, this is not a band that had any commercial success. I don't even remember how I heard of them and got this album. But here's my plug. Go listen to it. It's kind of, I think it's a duet. I think it's a male musician and a female singer. But it's like fully produced. I think maybe a song or two on this album might just be acoustic guitar and voice. But just really catchy songs. I love her voice. The songwriting is really great. And the instrumentation, even though I'm pretty sure it's just a duo, is pretty robust. So I imagine they were doing some studio magic, which is super appreciated by me. So go give this a listen and let me know what you think. Number 3, can't believe it, top 3, an album that I would not have thought, but here it is. All right, let's see what number 2 is. Number 2, again, such a shock. Jack Black, Lazaretto. I can't tell you how shocked I was that this came up. This again is one that I would have been surprised if it was on my top 25. Was not an album that was on my radar when I was thinking about this top 10 list. But here it is. So, as I said, there's no earworms. I don't know that any of these songs had any commercial success. It's from 2014, so it's over 10 years old. But earlier, when I was talking about the White Stripes, for those of you who don't know, Jack Black was the guitar player and singer of the White Stripes, and this is now his solo thing. Although there's a bunch of studio musicians who are genius, who are brilliant. This album is incredible. So when I was talking about the White Stripes album, I was saying that it kind of sounds, some of the stuff sounds just like musicians jamming, And this album has a lot of that, but I think this album really showcases Jack White's brilliance as a guitar player, as a musician, as a songwriter, as a singer. The dude's incredible. Yeah, so there you go. Number 2, Jack White. Hey, awesome. Go give it a listen if you haven't. All right, so huge drum roll as we roll in to see what is number 1. Ta-da! This shocked me again, right? I might have put this on a top 10 had I thought about it enough. So for those of you who don't know, Royal Blood, I would assume this is their debut album, self-titled, Royal Blood from 2014. If you listen to this album, in fact, I would challenge you to go listen to some of these songs right now. Go ahead, go right now. Save this video, come back and play. I'm going to tell you something, but it'll blow your mind if you go and listen to this first. So run along, go ahead. All right, well, welcome back. I hope you went and listened to this. This band is 2 people. Everything that you're hearing, what sounds so incredibly full. Now, you hear the guy rocking out on drums. He's great, but you've heard a drum kit before. You're like, yep, that's a guy playing drums. Everything else, what I thought was probably 3 musicians, 2 guitar players and a bass player, is all played by one instrument. It's the bass player of the band who's also singing, and he's running his bass through some sort of an effect that just makes it sound, I imagine some of it is an octave, something that creates perhaps multiple octaves of what he's playing. But I swear there's times where you're hearing like chords and all these things, which is typically not achievable on a bass. Just incredible. I heard, after I had listened to this album a ton, I heard that this was a two-piece, and I was like, that's not possible. So I went and watched some videos on YouTube, and sure as shit, there it was, two dudes playing these songs, and it's amazing. I really love the vibe of this band is so good. So the whole album is fantastic. Obviously, it's my number one album. But if I was going to suggest one song, it would be 10 Ton Skeleton. Listen to this song. It's going to have you, rocking from the very first second, the very first notes. You're just like, oh my gosh, this song rocks. And, it's a song for me that I get stank face immediately. Just listening to it. So, so good. So, I said earlier that there were some things that really surprised me, really shocked me. This was right up there. I could say this was my number one most shocking outcome. But honestly, a lot of things on this top 10 were very shocking to me. So, sometimes I surprise myself, I guess. So thank you so much for watching all of this. I hope you had a good time. Now's where I'm going to ask you real quick to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out my different social media sites. All that stuff is really helpful. If you're feeling particularly generous, you can throw me a tip over on Venmo. Certainly wouldn't shy away from that if you felt inclined to do so. I appreciate all that. And thank you, first and foremost, for watching. That's really awesome. So until next time when I'm ranking more stuff, we'll see you later.